My name is Vrex Corvan, and my hands are shaking as I record this. The warning sirens are still ringing in my ears. The smell of burnt wires fills the bridge. I am a sensor officer aboard the Imperial flagship Crimson Dawn, and in the last 20 minutes I have watched everything I believed about the galaxy turn to dust. It started as a normal patrol. The veiled expanse is empty space, dead space. For 400 cycles, our empire has ruled 8,000 star systems, and this region was always worthless. No planets, no resources, no life. We only patrol it because the admirals like to keep the maps updated. I was drinking my morning tea when my console lit up red. I stared at the readings and my 3 hearts nearly stopped. A space tier. A massive one. Something was coming through, and it was not using any jump gate I knew of. It was not using any technology our empire had ever recorded. I called out to the commander. My voice cracked. "Sir, we have a contact, unknown signature. It is bending space itself to get here." Commander Thrax turned from his console with a lazy smile. He is an old soldier, proud of his victories, bored of his duties. "A trick of the sensors, Vrex. Clean your console." "Sir, the readings are real. Something is emerging." And then it happened. Space cracked open like a broken mirror. Light poured through the tier, and a ship slid out into our reality. A ship that should not exist. It was ugly. That is the first thing I noticed. Our Imperial ships are graceful, covered in flowing curves and glowing energy sails. This thing was a block of dark gray metal, covered in sharp angles and pointed weapons. It looked like someone had taken a mountain and carved it into the shape of anger. The letters painted on its side were in a language none of us knew. Later, we would learn those letters spelled 2 words, Terran ship, and under that a name, Silent Hunter. Commander Thrax laughed, actually laughed. "A primitive boat. Look at those crude weapons. No energy sails, no psionic crystals. This is some lost colony ship from a backward world. Nothing to worry about." I wanted to agree with him. I wanted to believe him, but something about the ship made my skin crawl. It was too quiet, too still, like a predator watching prey. Our communication officer, Zella, waved her hand for attention. "Commander, we are being hailed. Open channel." "On speakers," Thrax said, rolling his eyes. "Let us hear what these primitives have to say." A voice filled the bridge. A human voice. Calm, cold, speaking our Imperial language perfectly, without any accent at all. "This is Captain Alina Bright of the Terran ship Silent Hunter. We know who you are. We know what your empire has done. We have been listening to you for a very long time. Turn your ships around and leave this region now, or face the consequences." The bridge went silent. Every officer looked at each other. How did they speak our language? How did they even know we existed? The veiled expanse was supposed to be empty. Commander Thrax stood up, his tail whipping with anger. "Who dares speak to the Crimson Dawn in such a tone? You are a single ship. We are an Imperial battle group. Stand down and prepare to be boarded, or we will turn your vessel into scrap." The human voice came back, still calm, still cold. "You have 30 seconds to reconsider." Thrax roared with laughter. 30 seconds, did you hear that, crew? The little human wants to give us 30 seconds. He slammed his fist on his command chair. "Target their ship, full weapons. Show them what the Empire does to pests." I watched my console with growing terror. The human ship was not moving to dodge. It was not powering up weapons in a panic. It was just sitting there, waiting, like it already knew how this would end. Our weapons officer called out, "Weapons locked, firing main cannons." 6 massive plasma beams shot from our flagship toward the Silent Hunter. These were weapons that had cracked planets, beams that had melted fleets. The humans were about to become vapor. But the beams never touched their ship. Something happened that I still cannot fully understand. The space in front of the human vessel seemed to ripple. The plasma beams bent. They curved. They slid around the silent hunter like water flowing around a stone and shot off into empty space. Thrax stopped laughing. "Again," he shouted, "fire again." We fired. Every ship in our battle group fired. 12 Imperial cruisers, all pouring energy at one small human ship. The void around the silent hunter glowed like a small sun. And when the light faded, the human ship was still there, untouched, undamaged, not a single scratch on its ugly gray hull. Then Captain Bright's voice came back. "Your 30 seconds are up." The silent hunter fired one weapon, just one. A small projectile traveling so fast my sensors could barely track it. It was not a beam. It was not energy. It was a simple piece of metal. It hit our sister ship, the Golden Flame, dead center. The Golden Flame did not explode. It did not burn. It simply came apart. The entire ship, all 2 kilometers of it, broke into pieces like a child's toy dropped on stone. 10,000 crew members gone in less than 2 seconds. The bridge erupted in shouting. Alarms blared. Thrax was screaming orders. But I could only stare at my console, at the single human ship that had just destroyed one of our finest vessels with one shot. "What was that?" Thrax demanded. "What weapon did they use?" My voice was barely a whisper. "Commander, the readings show it was a solid metal projectile, just metal, but traveling so fast that the impact released more energy than our main cannons." "Impossible. That is primitive technology, simple physics. We abandoned such crude weapons thousands of cycles ago." "Yes, sir, but they perfected them." Captain Bright spoke again. "Commander Thrax, I know your name. I know your record. I know you executed 8,000 civilians on the moon of Yorick's 3 cycles ago because they refused to pay tribute. I want you to understand something. We did not come here to talk. We did not come here to negotiate. We came here to deliver a message." The silent hunter began to move, slowly, purposefully, toward our flagship. "The message is this," Bright continued. "Humanity has been watching, we have been listening, we have been preparing, and we have decided that your empire has done enough." Thrax's face had gone pale. He gripped his command chair so hard that his claws dug into the metal. "All ships form defensive pattern Alpha. Bring the psionic array online. We will shatter their minds." The psionic array is our most secret weapon. Every officer in the fleet joined their minds together. A wave of mental force, powerful enough to make enemy crews faint or go insane, rolled out from our flagship toward the silent hunter. It washed over the human ship like rain on a stone. Nothing happened. Zella looked up from her console, her eyes wide with fear. "Commander, our psionic attack had no effect. It is like they do not even feel it. It is like their minds are." "Are what?" Thrax snapped. "Empty, sir, not weak, just different, like they are built without the part we can touch." I finally understood. I looked down at my console at the data I had been collecting. Humans had no psionic receivers. They had evolved without them. Our greatest weapon, the one we used to conquer 40 different species, was useless against them. And they knew it. They knew about us. They knew our language. They knew our weapons. They knew our weaknesses. They knew the name of the commander who executed civilians on a distant moon 3 cycles ago. How long had they been watching us? The silent hunter stopped just outside our effective weapons range, close enough that I could see the lights on its hull, close enough that I could see the small turrets tracking every one of our ships at once. Captain Bright's voice returned one last time. "Commander Thrax, your battle group is already beaten. You just do not know it yet. I'm going to give you one chance to surrender. Power down your weapons. Open your hangars, prepare to be boarded. Do this and your crew will live." Thrax was breathing hard, sweating, but his pride was stronger than his fear. "Never," he hissed. "The Empire does not surrender to primitives." "Very well," Bright said. "Remember, you chose this." My console exploded in a storm of new contacts. more tears in space, more ships emerging from nowhere. Not one, not 10, hundreds of them, hundreds of human warships appearing from the void like ghosts. And every single one of them was pointed at us. I closed my eyes and prayed to ancestors I had not thought of in cycles. This was not a first contact. This was not an accident. This was an ambush that had been planned for years, maybe for decades. The humans had found us, learned us, prepared for us, and now they had arrived in full force. The Empire had always said we were the strongest species in the galaxy. We were about to learn how wrong we had been. My name is Rex Corvan, and this is the day the galaxy changed forever. The day the humans came out of the void. The day our empire learned what it meant to be afraid. And the worst part, the part I still cannot stop thinking about, is that Captain Bright's voice was never angry, never cruel. She spoke to us like a farmer speaks to an insect that has been damaging her crops, with calm, practical, professional purpose. She was not here to fight a war. She was here to end one. My hands are still shaking as I record this. My tea has gone cold. The battle has not even truly begun, and I already know that nothing will ever be the same. The humans have arrived, and the galaxy has no idea what is about to happen. The first human missile hit our flagship 30 seconds after the hundreds of new ships appeared. Our shields, the same shields that had held against the plasma storms of the Corax Rebellion, shattered like thin ice. Commander Thrax was thrown across the bridge. I hit the floor hard, and my console showered sparks onto my arm. When I pulled myself back up, the main view screen showed something I will never forget. The human fleet was not attacking in a line. It was not attacking in waves. It was moving in patterns that my tactical training had never covered. The ships flowed like water, splitting and rejoining, striking from angles that should have been impossible. It was as if each ship knew what the others would do before they did it. Later, I would learn the humans used something called networked battle intelligence. Every ship in their fleet shared sensor data, tactical plans, and targeting information in real time. Their computers talked to each other faster than any living mind could follow. But the final decisions were still made by human captains. Machine speed combined with human intuition. It was a terrifying combination. Our sister ship Bright Talon tried to run. Its captain, a coward I had always disliked, turned his vessel and began to flee. He never made it 1 kilometer. 3 human ships appeared in his path, having folded space to get there instantly. They did not even bother with weapons. The Bright Talon slammed into the gravity field projected by the lead human vessel and crumpled like paper. Commander Thrax was back on his feet now, blood running down his face from where he had hit his head. He grabbed the communication controls. "All ships, this is Thrax. Coordinate fire on the lead human vessel. Bring them down." But the humans were already moving. Before our ships could even turn, the Silent Hunter was somewhere else. Not through slow movement, not through normal thrust. It simply appeared in a new position, as if space itself was bending to serve it. Our cruiser Iron Song fired every weapon it had. Every single shot missed. The humans were dodging by moving through tiny pockets of folded space, appearing and reappearing fractions of a second before our weapons could lock on. I watched Captain Bright's ship slide between 2 of our vessels like a knife between ribs. The Silent Hunter fired once to the left, once to the right. 2 of our cruisers lost power completely. Their lights went dark. Their engines died. They were still intact but utterly helpless. A new voice came over our communication system. Not Captain Bright, a different human. Male, sharp, commanding. "Imperial flagship. This is Commander David Hart of the Terran ship Iron Resolve. I am transmitting a list of your war crimes to every surviving member of your crew. Your empire has hidden these acts from your own people for many cycles. Your own citizens deserve to know what was done in their name." Suddenly, every personal communication device on our ship began to chime. Every officer, every worker, every soldier. The humans had broken through our security and were sending information directly to our crew. I glanced at my own device. My blood turned to ice. There were images, documents, recordings. The destruction of the Marathi homeworld, which our government had claimed was a natural disaster. The poisoning of the Yorick's moons, which was blamed on local terrorists. The slave mines of Belox, which we had been told were voluntary work camps. Lies, hundreds of cycles of lies, and the humans had somehow collected all the evidence. Around the bridge, I saw officers staring at their devices in shock. Zella had tears streaming down her face. Our weapons officer was shaking his head, whispering no, no, no over and over again. Commander Thrax saw what was happening and roared with rage. Ignore it, ignore their lies, focus on the battle. But the damage was done. You cannot unsee the truth, and the humans knew exactly what they were doing. The battle continued. Our cruiser Starhammer launched every missile in its bays at the human fleet. The human ships activated some kind of defensive field, and the missiles simply stopped in midair, their engines cutting out, their warheads going dark. Then they turned around. They turned around and flew back toward the Starhammer. The humans had somehow hijacked our own weapons. The Starhammer was destroyed by its own missiles. I had served in the Imperial Navy for 12 cycles. I had fought in 3 wars. I had seen the Empire defeat the Krell pirates, the Belox rebels, and the Marathi defenders. I thought I knew what space combat looked like. This was not combat. This was a lesson being taught. The humans were not trying hard. They were doing something like showing us their capabilities, one by one, so that we would understand exactly how outmatched we were. Commander Hart's voice returned. Commander Thrax, I can see your ship on my sensors. I can see your heart rate elevated. I can see your crew disobeying your orders. I can see your weapons' power dropping. You have lost. End this now and save what lives you can. Thrax was breathing hard, his yellow eyes wild with fear and rage. Never. The Empire will send more ships. The Emperor will destroy all of you. The Emperor already knows we are here, Hart replied calmly. He has known for 3 cycles. He has been trying to build a response. He has failed. Your empire is finished, Commander. You just have not accepted it yet. Zella called out from her station. Commander, the other ships are signaling surrender. The Iron Song, the Moon Blade, and the Red Tide are all powering down their weapons. Thrax spun toward her. What? On whose authority? Their captains, sir. They are offering to surrender to the human fleet. I saw it on my own console. 3 of our cruisers had stopped fighting. Their shields were down, their weapons cold. They had chosen survival over loyalty to an empire that had lied to them for generations. The remaining Imperial ships tried to keep fighting, but it was hopeless. The humans picked them off one by one, always giving them a chance to surrender first, always disabling rather than destroying when possible. Within another 20 minutes, the battle was over. Of our 12 Imperial cruisers, 4 had been destroyed. 8 had surrendered. Only the Crimson Dawn, our flagship, still had its weapons active. And we were surrounded by 200 human warships. Captain Bright's voice returned to our speakers. Commander Thrax, your war is over. Power down your weapons and open your hangar bays. My boarding teams are coming aboard. Thrax looked around the bridge like a cornered animal. His officers would not meet his eyes. He had lost them. The lies had broken something inside his crew, and they would not die for him anymore. You cannot come aboard this ship, Thrax said, but his voice had lost its strength. This is Imperial property. This is sovereign territory. You have no right. We have every right, Captain Bright replied. Your empire invaded 40 different species' territories without permission. Your empire took their planets, their resources, and their freedoms. You do not get to speak to us about rights, Commander. You lost that privilege a long time ago. Thrax slumped into his command chair. The fight had gone out of him. He stared at the floor for a long moment, then spoke quietly. "What happens to my crew? They will be treated according to the rules of war. Medical care, fair food, humane conditions. Those who committed specific acts will face trial. Those who simply served will be sent home after questioning. We are not here to hurt your people, Commander. We are here to hurt your empire." Thrax nodded slowly. He pressed a button on his command chair. "All weapons stand down. Open the hangar bays. Do not resist the boarding teams." And then, to my complete surprise, he stood up, removed the ceremonial sword from his belt, and placed it gently on the deck. The boarding action happened quickly. The humans were fast, frighteningly fast. They moved through our corridors in small teams, wearing armor that seemed to drink in the light. Their weapons were simple projectile rifles, but they handled them with a skill that suggested many years of practice. When the team reached our bridge, I got my first close look at a human. They were smaller than I expected, maybe 2 meters tall, pale skin under their helmets, 5 fingers on each hand, eyes that were disturbingly focused. They moved with the casual confidence of professionals who had done this many times before. The team leader was a woman. Her armor had the name Captain Grace Miller printed on the chest. She removed her helmet and looked around our bridge. "Commander Thrax," she said in perfect Imperial language, "please step away from the command chair, slowly." Thrax obeyed without argument. Captain Miller looked at the rest of us. Her eyes were blue, pale, cold, intelligent blue. "The rest of you are being detained as prisoners of war. You will be treated well. You will be given food and medical care. In exchange, you will answer questions. Do this and you will go home. Refuse and you will stay in custody longer. These are your only options. Do you understand?" We all nodded. What else could we do? As I was led from the bridge, I passed the body of our censor officer, young Kirk. He had been hit by a piece of debris during the first attack. He had been alive when I saw him last. Now he was gone. But around us, most of the crew was alive, scared, defeated, but alive. The humans had destroyed our pride but spared our lives. They had defeated us without needing to slaughter us. There was something in that, something that made my mind race with questions. What kind of species does this? What kind of species has the power to destroy but chooses to restrain itself? I was about to learn the answer, and it would change everything I thought I knew about what it meant to be strong. My name is Vrex Corvan. I am now a prisoner of the Terran Federation, and I am about to meet humanity properly for the first time. The holding area they put us in was not what I expected. In our empire, prisoners are kept in small cells with minimal comfort. Here, they had put 30 of us in a large room with proper beds, a functioning food dispenser, and clean water. The walls were plain gray metal, but the temperature was comfortable and the air smelled fresh. A human guard stood near the door, relaxed but alert. He was young, with short brown hair and a small scar above one eye. His name badge read Private Lucas Bell. He nodded politely when we came in, like a hotel worker greeting guests. "Food dispenser is in the corner," he said in our language. "It has samples of meals from 12 different imperial species. If none of them suit you, let me know and we will find something that works. Water is clean. There are separate rooms for washing. If you need medical attention, raise your hand." A senior officer from one of the other ships stepped forward. His name was Drell. "What are you going to do with us?" "That is above my pay grade, sir," Lucas said with a small smile. "But I can tell you what is not going to happen. You are not going to be hurt. You are not going to be starved. You are not going to be forced to work. This is not your empire's prison system. We do things differently." Drell frowned. "Why?" "Because we learned the hard way that treating prisoners badly creates more enemies later. Also, it is simply wrong. Those are 2 separate reasons and both are true." Lucas turned to leave, then paused. "One more thing. If any of you want to talk to someone about what happened today, about what you saw on those files we sent to your ship, we have counselors available. Our species has a lot of experience with the pain of realizing your leaders lied to you. We can help if you want help." Then he left, and the door slid shut behind him. The room was quiet for a long time. Finally, Drell sat down on one of the beds and put his head in his hands. "What kind of species is this? They destroy our fleet, then offer us counselors." I shook my head slowly. I had no answer. The hours passed. Some of us slept. Others sat and stared at the walls. The food dispenser worked perfectly, and the meal I chose tasted exactly like my mother used to make. Somehow the humans had our recipes. How long had they been watching us? How much did they know? About 8 hours later, my name was called over a speaker. "Vrex Corven, please come to the door. You are being requested for an interview." I stood up with my heart's pounding. The other prisoners watched me with nervous eyes. Drell put a hand on my shoulder. "If they hurt you, we will know. We will remember." I almost laughed. We had no power here. Our memory meant nothing, but I appreciated the thought. Lucas was waiting for me outside. He was friendly but professional. He led me through the corridors of the human ship, and I tried to learn as much as I could from what I saw. The Silent Hunter was beautiful on the inside, despite its ugly outer hull. The corridors were well lit, with green plants growing in small alcoves every few meters. Real plants, living plants, on a warship. I had never seen anything like it. The humans we passed smiled or nodded at us politely. Some were in uniform. Others wore simple clothes. A few were clearly scientists, with tablets and measuring devices. One was eating a piece of fruit and reading a small book. They acted like people on any ordinary workday, not like soldiers who had just destroyed a battle fleet. Lucas noticed me looking around. "First time on a human ship." "Yes." "Pretty normal, right? We try to make our warships feel like homes. Our crews serve long tour, sometimes years at a time. If the ship feels like a prison, we lose good people. If it feels like home, we keep them sharp." Years at a time. In our empire, crew tour are 6 months at most, with harsh discipline and strict separation between ranks. The humans were running their military like a community instead of like a machine. He led me to a small room with a table and 2 chairs. A human woman was already seated. She looked older than most of the humans I had seen, maybe in her middle years. Her hair was gray, and she wore no uniform, just a simple blue shirt and dark pants. She stood up when I entered. "Mr. Corven, my name is Dr. Margaret Hill. I am a xenopsychologist. That means I study how different species think. Please sit down. Would you like something to drink?" I sat carefully. "Water, please." She handed me a cup. Her hands were steady. Her eyes were kind but sharp, like someone who had seen a lot and still paid attention to details. "I want to talk to you about what you saw today," she said. "Not to interrogate you, not to trick you, just to talk. You can ask me questions too. I will answer them honestly. If I cannot answer something because it is classified, I will tell you that instead of lying to you." "Why me?" I asked. "I am not an officer, I am just a censor worker." "Exactly," she said. "The officers will tell us what they were trained to say. The soldiers will tell us what they were ordered to do. But people like you, the ones who actually see the data, the ones who know what is really happening, you tell us the truth. Also, your records show you questioned your commander during the battle. You notice things other officers missed. You have a careful mind. I want to talk to someone with a careful mind." I was surprised. They had read my records. They had been paying attention. "I will answer honestly," I said. "I owe my empire nothing now. The files you sent showed me too much." Dr. Hill nodded sadly. "I am sorry you had to learn that way. It was the fastest way to get your crews to surrender, but it is a painful thing to show a person." "How long have you been watching us?" 40 of your cycles," she said. "About 80 years in our own time measurement. We detected your radio signals when our early probes went out into the void. We built listening stations. We learned your languages. We intercepted your military communications. We did not want to fight you. We wanted to understand you. 40 cycles, I whispered. 40 cycles ago, I had been a child. My entire adult life, the humans had been listening, learning. What changed? I asked. Why come now? Her face grew serious. 3 things changed. First, we finished building a fleet big enough to defeat you. That took most of the 80 years. Second, your empire began expanding toward a region of space we consider important. You would have reached our territory within 15 of your cycles. Third. She paused. Third, we received communications from the Keth people. Do you know of them? The slave species on Keth 4. They work in the ore mines. Yes. Your empire executed 2 million of them last cycle for trying to leave. Did you know that? I had heard rumors. The official news had called it a terrorist event. I did not know the numbers. 2 million, she repeated quietly. Children, grandmothers, workers, farmers, gone, because they wanted to live as free people. When our long-range listeners recorded their final transmissions, my government decided we had waited long enough. We could not sit in the dark while your empire did such things to its neighbors. That is not who we are. I was silent for a long time. Then I asked the question that had been burning in my mind since the battle began. Why do you fight like this? Why use solid metal weapons instead of energy? Why fly in such strange patterns? Why have no psionic ability? What kind of species are humans? Dr. Hill smiled, but it was a sad smile. That is a long story, Mr. Corvin, but I will try to tell it simply. Humans evolved on a world called Earth. It was not a peaceful world. Our early history was full of difficulty. We fought the weather. We fought diseases. We fought wild animals that hunted us. And I am sorry to say we fought each other. A lot. For thousands of years, we fought each other over food, over land, over ideas, over beliefs. You fought your own species. We did. We still struggle with it sometimes, though we have gotten much better. But that history made us into what we are. Every generation learned from the last. We developed new weapons, new tactics, new ways of thinking about conflict. We became, I am sorry to say, extremely good at war. And then you went to space. And then we nearly ended ourselves, she corrected. About 300 of your cycles ago, we had a very bad time. Our weapons had become so advanced that we almost destroyed our own world. The fighting stopped because everyone realized we were about to lose everything. We were very lucky. We survived barely, and we made a promise to ourselves. Never again would we let our violent tendencies control us. Never again would we fight each other for selfish reasons. But you kept the weapons. We kept the weapons. We improved them. Because we knew that if there was a universe out there with other species in it, we could not guarantee they would all be peaceful. We made our weapons stronger, our tactics better, our ships faster. But we also made a rule. Humans will only fight to defend. Humans will only fight to free. Humans will not fight for empire, for wealth, for glory. We watched your civilization do exactly those things, and we promised we would not become you. I stared at her. A species that had almost destroyed itself, that had chosen to master war specifically so that it could protect others. I had never heard of anything like this. And the psionics, I asked. We simply do not have them. We never evolved the receivers. For most of our history, we considered this a limitation. But it turns out to be an advantage when facing species like yours. You cannot read our minds. You cannot attack us with mental powers. We are invisible to your most important weapons. We did not plan this. It was just luck. And your ships. Our ships are built by many species now. Did you know that? The Keth built some of our armor. The Velen built some of our engines. We have allies, Mr. Corvin. When we came out of hiding, we did not come alone. There are 32 species in the Terran Federation, and most of them are species your empire conquered or threatened. They came to us for safety, and they made us stronger in exchange. I felt dizzy. The scope of what she was telling me was enormous. My empire had believed itself alone at the top of the galaxy. But for 80 years, a coalition had been growing in the shadows, led by a species that had mastered war through painful self-study, and we had never even noticed. "What happens next?" I asked. Dr. Hill leaned back in her chair. "That depends on your emperor. He has received our demands this morning. He must free the slave species. He must withdraw from 40 occupied territories. He must pay reparations to the worlds he has damaged, and he must accept inspectors who will make sure he keeps his word." "He will refuse." "Yes, he will refuse, and then we will fight. But Mr. Corvin, I want you to understand something. This battle you were in today, this was a scouting mission, a first move. We have many, many more ships coming, and we are not alone. The freed species are coming too. The Keth are coming. The Yoriks are coming. The Bellox miners are coming. Everyone your empire has ever hurt is coming to join this fight." I closed my eyes and imagined the scale of what was coming. Hundreds of thousands of warships. Freed slaves turned into soldiers. Decades of hidden preparation finally unleashed. "It will not be a war," I said quietly. "It will be a cleansing." "It will be justice," Dr. Hill corrected. "Slow, careful, legal justice. We do not want to destroy your empire, Mr. Corvin. We want to dismantle it. We want your citizens to live free lives. We want your crimes to stop. We want to build something better with the pieces. Your people are not our enemies. Your government is." I looked at her for a long moment. "What do you want from me?" "When this is over," she said, "your empire will need new leaders, new thinkers, people who understand what went wrong and can help build what comes next. You have a careful mind, Mr. Corvin. You notice things. You ask good questions. I want you to think about whether you might want to be one of those new leaders." I was stunned. She was offering me a future. In the middle of a war that would destroy everything I had known, she was offering me a place in whatever came after. "I will think about it," I said. "That is all I ask." As Lucas led me back to the holding area, my mind was spinning. The humans were not what I had thought they were. They were not conquerors. They were not monsters. They were something more complicated and, in some ways, more terrifying. They were a species that had stared into the dark heart of its own nature and chosen, again and again, to become better. And they had decided that my empire was a problem that needed to be solved. The real war was about to begin, and I was beginning to understand that my empire had already lost. The Emperor's answer came 3 days later. We heard it from the human guards, who shared news freely with us now that we were prisoners in a comfortable part of the ship. Emperor Tyrax, the 14th, had rejected all of the Terran Federation's demands. He had called humanity primitive monkeys. He had promised to burn their homeworld to ash. He had ordered the Grand Armada to assemble. 200,000 Imperial warships, the entire military strength of our civilization, gathering at the edge of the veiled expanse. When Private Lucas Bell told us this, I expected him to look worried. 200,000 ships was an almost impossible number. The humans had maybe 2,000 ships in the area, by my best guess from what I had observed. Lucas did not look worried. "That is a lot of ships," Drell said carefully. "Yes," Lucas agreed, "it is." "Are you not concerned?" Lucas thought for a moment. "Do you know why we painted the name Silent Hunter on this ship? It is a reference to something from Earth's old sea wars. A Silent Hunter was a vessel that operated alone without support in waters controlled by enemies. It could not win a direct fight, so it had to be smarter, faster, better prepared. It had to know where the enemy was, what they were doing, what they were going to do next. It had to attack when the enemy was weakest and disappear before they could respond." "What are you saying?" "I am saying," Lucas smiled, "that this ship is not our strongest warship. This ship is our smallest. Our flagship, the Morning Star, is 10 times this size, and it is already on its way." I exchanged glances with the other prisoners. 10 times this size. I remembered the Silent Hunter had destroyed the Golden Flame with a single shot. How many warships does your Federation actually have? I asked. Lucas looked at me for a long time as if deciding how much to say. Then he shrugged. You will find out soon enough anyway. 12,000 warships. We started building them in secret about 60 years ago. They are all faster and stronger than anything your empire has. And our allies are bringing their own fleets too. The Keth have 4,000 ships. The Velen have 6,000. The Bellox Mining Guild has contributed 3,000 armed haulers. By the time the battle begins, we will have about 30,000 vessels on our side. 30,000 against 200,000, Drell muttered. Still bad numbers. Quality over quantity, Lucas replied simply. 2 days later, we were moved to a larger ship, the Morning Star. It was as enormous as Lucas had said. As we were transported over in a small shuttle, I got my first real look at it, and my breath caught in my throat. The Morning Star was not a ship. It was a moving city, 5 kilometers long, dark gray like all human ships but with hundreds of weapon mounts along its length. Its hangar bays were large enough to hold entire cruisers. Small lights glowed from thousands of windows. It looked like a mountain that had decided to fly. They put us in a viewing room with a large window where we could watch the preparations for the upcoming battle. They told us we were free to observe. They had nothing to hide. They wanted us to see everything so that when we went home, we could tell the truth about what we had witnessed. For the next week, I watched the human fleet assemble. Ships arrived from folded space, one after another at a pace that seemed impossible. Each day, the number of vessels around us grew. Human warships of every size. Cruisers of the Keth, painted blue with white stripes. Warships of the Velen, strange angular vessels that looked like stars with points. Armed haulers of the Bellox, massive ugly machines converted from mining work. And the humans kept arriving. Carriers filled with small fighter craft. Supply ships, medical vessels, command ships. It was not just a battle fleet. It was an entire nation preparing to go to war. On the 7th day, the Imperial Grand Armada appeared on the long-range sensors. 200,000 ships, exactly as rumored. A wall of Imperial might, stretching across space in a formation designed to overwhelm anything it faced. I watched my own species prepare to commit suicide, and I wanted to warn them. I wanted to tell them to turn around, to surrender, to save themselves. But there was no way to reach them, and even if I could, they would not listen. They would see me as a traitor, a prisoner, a broken fool who had been tricked by the enemy. The humans began their final preparations. Dr. Hill came to visit me in the viewing room. She sat down next to me and looked out at the gathering fleets. "This will be difficult to watch," she said gently. "Are you sure you want to stay here?" "Yes, I need to see it. I need to understand." She nodded. The Imperial fleet launched the first attack. 50,000 ships charged forward in a classic wedge formation. It was the strategy that had defeated the Krell, the Bellox rebels, and the Marathi defenders. A solid block of firepower that crushed anything it touched. The human fleet did not form up to meet them. Instead, the human ships simply disappeared. Not all at once. In small groups. 2 ships here, 3 ships there. Pockets of folded space opening and closing, and our sensors kept losing track of the human fleet. The Imperial wedge drove forward into empty space, looking for an enemy that had vanished. Then the humans attacked from everywhere at once. They came from above, from below, from behind, from all sides. Small groups of ships appearing, firing, disappearing again before Imperial weapons could respond. It was not a battle. It was a swarm attack from 1,000 directions. The Imperial wedge, designed for forward assault, could not defend itself. Imperial ships began to fall, first by the dozens, then by the hundreds. Their formation broke apart as captains tried to respond to attacks coming from impossible angles. Ships turned to fire, only to find no target there, while being hit from 3 other directions. The Keth ships moved in to finish wounded Imperial vessels. The Velen ships targeted Imperial command vessels, cutting off communications. The Belloq's haulers formed lines behind the battle, catching escape pods and rescuing surviving crews. Every species had a role. Every fleet knew its part. I had never seen such coordination. In our empire, different species did not work together. Different fleets competed for glory. The idea of a Keth ship and a human ship attacking the same target in perfect harmony was unimaginable in Imperial thinking. But the humans had made it work. They had taken species that had been isolated, conquered, or forgotten, and they had turned them into a unified force that moved like a single living thing. The first wave of the Imperial Armada was wiped out within 3 hours. 50,000 ships reduced to a handful of survivors, who fled back to the main fleet in panic. Emperor Tyrax sent another 100,000 ships, a massive attack meant to overwhelm by pure numbers. The humans deployed something new, a weapon I had not seen before, a field projector that made space itself unstable in a wide area. Imperial ships entering the field found their engines failing, their weapons jammed, their communications dead. And then the human ships moved in and picked them apart one by one. Another 100,000 ships gone. The Grand Armada was now at half strength. That is when Emperor Tyrax made his final mistake. He ordered the Deep Void weapon. I had only heard rumors of this weapon. It was supposed to be the ultimate Imperial trump card, a super weapon developed in secret research stations for the last 200 cycles. It was said to be able to destroy entire planets. It had never been used in war before. The Emperor's flagship, the Throne of Stars, moved forward from the remaining Imperial fleet. It was the largest ship our empire had ever built, 10 kilometers long, armed with weapons that had cost entire star systems of resources to develop. A massive cannon mounted on the front of the Throne of Stars began to glow. Energy flowed from the ship's engines into this weapon. The glow grew brighter, brighter, until it was like a small star. And then it fired. A beam of concentrated matter, thicker than many ships and blindingly bright, ripped across space toward the human fleet. This was a weapon meant to destroy planets. Aimed at the morning star, it would vaporize everything within a massive area. I closed my eyes because I did not want to watch. I was on a human ship now. If the morning star fell, I would fall with it. But more than my own fear, I felt shame. Shame that my own species, my own emperor, was willing to use such a weapon, willing to kill so many in one shot. But the explosion I expected did not come. I opened my eyes. The morning star was not there anymore. It had folded space and moved, instantly, to a new position. The deep void beam had passed through empty space and continued into the distance, eventually losing its focus and fading away. The humans had seen the weapon charging up, calculated its firing angle, and simply stepped aside. Then the morning star fired back. Not with a super weapon, not with some secret trump card of its own, with a simple metal projectile, solid tungsten, accelerated by magnetic fields to a fraction of the speed of light. The same kind of weapon the Silent Hunter had used in the first battle. The projectile struck the Throne of Stars directly on its main power core. The Imperial flagship came apart. Not in a dramatic explosion, but in a slow, terrible disintegration. Its superstructure collapsed. Its hull split open. Its weapons went dark one by one. Within 2 minutes, the greatest ship in the history of our empire was a cloud of slowly expanding debris. Emperor Tyrax XIV, ruler of 8,000 systems, lord of the Eternal Dynasty, was gone, along with his entire royal family, who had been on the flagship with him. The Grand Armada fell apart. Captains who had been loyal to the Emperor no longer had anyone to be loyal to. Those who had been fighting only because they were afraid of the Emperor no longer had anyone to fear. Ships began to surrender. Entire fleets powered down their weapons and sent surrender signals. The war was over. I sat in the viewing room with tears running down my face. It was not sadness for the Emperor, or for the Armada, or even for my empire. It was something larger. I was watching the end of an age. The great imperial civilization that had dominated this region of space for 400 cycles was dying right in front of me, and I was watching its final breath. Dr. Hill came to sit with me again. She did not speak. She simply placed a hand on my shoulder and waited. After a long time, I asked, "What happens now?" "Now," she said, "the hard work begins. Your empire is defeated, but your people are still alive. 8,000 systems need new governments. 40 conquered species need help returning to their own worlds. Trillions of imperial citizens need to be told the truth about what their leaders did and help to build new lives. We cannot do all of this alone." She turned to look at me. "That is why I asked you to think about becoming one of the new leaders. We will need people from your empire, people who understand your civilization, who can help your people through the transition. People who saw what happened and can explain it in ways that your citizens will believe." "Why me? I am just a censor officer." "You are more than that, Mr. Corvin. You are someone who noticed, who questioned, who faced the truth when it was shown to you. Those qualities matter more than rank or experience. We can teach anyone the technical skills of leadership. We cannot teach the willingness to see things as they really are. You already have that." I thought about it. I thought about my home world, about my family who had believed in the Empire all their lives, about my friends who would need someone to explain what had happened, about the ordinary citizens who would wake up tomorrow to find their empire gone and their lives turned upside down. Someone had to help them. Someone had to bridge the gap between the old and the new. "Yes," I said quietly, "I will help." Dr. Hill smiled. "Good, we will teach you what you need to know. It will be hard work, but it will matter." I looked out the window one more time. The battle was over. Ships floated in the distance, being repaired or scrapped. Rescue vessels were still collecting survivors from both sides. Medical ships were treating the wounded regardless of which side they had fought for. In the Empire, defeated enemies were thrown away. Their survivors were enslaved or exiled. Their cultures were crushed. That was how we had always done things. The humans were doing it differently. They were collecting the wounded, feeding the prisoners, preparing to rebuild, not to punish. I understood now what Dr. Hill had told me about how humans had almost destroyed themselves and learned from it. They were not soft. They had proven that today, but they were different from us in a way that mattered. They had learned that victory was not the same as dominance, that defeating an enemy and building a better world were separate things, and both had to be done. My empire had forgotten that long ago. Maybe we had never really known it. The humans were here to teach us. The whole galaxy, really. It would take a long time. Many lessons would be painful. Many of my people would resist. But for the first time since the Silent Hunter had appeared out of the void, I felt something other than fear. I felt hope. A small hope, a careful hope, but a real one. The galaxy was changing. My role in that change was just beginning. I would study. I would learn. I would return to my people as something new, as a bridge between what we had been and what we could become. My name is Vrex Corvin. I was a prisoner of war. I am now a student of a new civilization. One day, I hope to be one of its leaders. The Galactic Empire underestimated humanity. The entire galaxy had. That mistake ended in the veiled expanse. On the day a human warship appeared from the void, and everything changed. The old age has ended. The new age has begun. And I will be part of building it, one day at a time, for the rest of my life. The end of my story is the beginning of ours. Somewhere in the distance, a human communication officer was sending messages to the freed slave worlds, telling them that help was coming, that their long nightmare was over, that they were no longer alone. And in every one of those messages, the final line was the same. Welcome to the new galaxy. We are glad you are here.